Pints of beer have got more expensive.
It's quite extortionate.
It has gone very high.
It's not ideal.
Do some of your customers sometimes complain about the price of a pint?
The price here.
The price of a pint has gone up and up and up. And by my count, there are at least 4 main reasons why. Last year in the UK, we bought 3.1 billion pints. And that's about more than just getting a drink.
It's a community.
Sharing with friends, enjoying life.
In the summer, we drink a lot of pints. Not as much as at Christmas, but still a lot. And this summer, we're buying even more beer because of the World Cup. But the pints that we're buying when we watch the games are costing more than ever before. For example, in 1990, the average price of a pint of lager was £1.22. In 2000, it was £2. In 2010, £2.96. In 2020, £3.79. And in early 2025, it was £4.83. The price hasn't just gone up. In recent years, the rate at which it's going up has increased. The British Beer and Pub Association is the industry's main body. We're going to use its data to help us explain this story. It's looked across a range of beers and estimates that the average price of a pint has, for the first time, gone over a fiver. So what's going on? What goes into the price of a pint and why is it going up? Well, it seems only right that I should use one of these to explain what's happening to the price of a pint. But to offer you a little more precision than beer in a glass can offer, I'll also be using this graphic. I want to start with the cost of making the beer and getting it to a pub. First, there's the cost of ingredients. For example, barley. UK brewers mostly use British suppliers, but barley's traded on a global market, and in recent years, the price has gone up. In the early 2020s, the pandemic affected supply chain costs, and the war in Ukraine affected grain prices. Prices have come down recently, but they're still higher than they were in 2020, and other ingredients like hops are an issue too. Ingredients are more expensive. Next is energy. Breweries use it to heat, boil and cool beer, and store it, and transport it. All of that requires energy, and that's been costing more. Again, Ukraine's played a part, so has the war with Iran. But hold on. Since the first year of the war in Ukraine, some costs that had increased have since reduced, but the price of beer keeps going up.
Of course, since the peak of those increases we saw in 2023, 2024 have come down a little bit. Energy costs in the sector are still 86% higher than they were pre-pandemic.
Okay, we've looked at ingredients and energy. Staffing is also costing more, not least because of national insurance. This is a tax that employers pay on top of staff wages. In 2024, the Labour government raised it to, it said, fund public services and restore economic stability. The trade body for the UK hospitality industry called this devastating. Whatever the arguments, this and other factors have made staffing more expensive. And if we put all the brewery's costs together, including making and transporting the beer, this accounts for over 25% of the price of a pint. Something like this. The next thing we have to factor in is taxes. Did you know that the UK has some of the highest tax on beer in the world? In Germany, it works out to 4p a pint. In France, it's 17p. In Greece, 26 pence. In the UK, it's 48p. This tax on beer is known as duty, and the whole area of duty on alcohol is pretty complicated. But suffice to say, for a good while, duty on draft beer stayed the same. But recently, it started to rise. Let's add duty into the total. At the moment, when you're getting a beer, it makes up 9.6% of the price. Put with the brewery's costs, that gets us this far, but that's not the end of the taxes. There's also VAT, value added tax. We pay this when we buy goods and services. It's 20% of the price, added on top. It's been at that level since 2011. And we pay it on beer, so there's VAT as part of the overall cost of the pint. And there's more. Taxes, that is. Business rates are a tax that pubs pay to their local council. The rates connect to the value of the buildings in which pubs operate. The amount paid is linked to what a property could rent for. And in England, for example, the figures used to calculate pubs' business rates are on course to rise, on average, by around 30% this year. The government's offered a rates reduction to certain pubs, but even with that, rates are up quite a lot in some cases, and all of that feeds into the price we pay at the bar. As part of his bid to become Prime Minister, Andy Burnham has promised to reform business rates to support pubs. He says they bring social benefits to communities. But as they are now, business rates make up 2.2% of the price of a pint. Believe it or not, there are some other taxes too. Let's factor them in as well. We've now explained over 57% of the price of a pint, and next we need to go back to those increased staffing costs and increased energy costs, because they're not just affecting breweries, they're affecting pubs too, which in turn affects the price that we're paying for beer. 19.6% of the price of a pint is staffing costs for pubs and venues. 4.4% is for utilities, that's electricity and water too. And there are other costs for pubs, including insurance, waste disposal, sport on TV. Let's add those in as well. Okay, we're getting close to the full cost of a pint. Ingredients, energy, staffing, taxes, and other costs too. But which ones of those are really pushing up the price?
Probably in terms of the big drivers for the pub, it's more the employment costs and the energy costs that have been the biggest challenge recently.
But there's one more thing. Profit. 12 pence of it. Yes, you heard that right. According to the biggest industry body, 12p is the average profit made by a pub on a pint. And I don't know about you, but I thought it would be more than that. But I'm told, far from it.
And I think a lot of the public don't realise if they see a cost of a pint for £6-7, they may think, oh, breweries are making a lot of money. But brewing is notoriously a small margin business.
12p per pint in profit it is, which means that profit makes up 2.4% of our total. And if we bring all of this together, we get to our average price of a pint, £5.01. Where you are in the country, where you're buying your drinks, what kind of beer you're drinking, of course, all of this will affect how much you're paying at the bar. But the long and the short of it is that if pints this summer are feeling more expensive, that's because they are. And if you're in the pub and someone says, what's happened to the price of a pint? Well, you could say, well, there's this great BBC video all about this, or you could simply say the cost of ingredients, energy, staffing, and some taxes has gone up. That's what's happened. And there's a concern that this cost of a pint is putting people off.
It's definitely a lot more expensive than what it was.
I think for a lot of people it's definitely become prohibitive.
Well, this is how the situation was described to us.
When we see this massive increase happening across the sector, and we see breweries squeeze so much, and we see pubs having to charge so much, and we have the public not being able to afford it, you have almost a trifecta of chaos.
A trifecta of chaos. Not a phrase I've used with reference to buying a pint before, but the strength of that language gets across that something, buying a drink in a pub that has been for everyone, now risks not being that anymore. In the first 3 months of 2026, 161 pubs in England, Scotland and Wales have closed. There's a whole range of reasons for the decline in pub numbers, not least, according to some research, that UK adults are drinking less. But would lower prices make a difference?
We've seen a decline in the way the pub's been over the years. It's, people just haven't got the money no more. It's sad to see, but they haven't. And years ago, you used to get the groups would buy beer round. Now everybody's just buying individually. Years ago, when you used to put a pint up 2p or 5p, now it's like 30p, 40p. One of them I put up 50p, but you have to, else you go under.
How do you feel when you do it, though?
I don't feel great, I've got to admit, but it's something that's got to be done.
Getting a drink in a pub is one of life's simple pleasures, but as we've seen, when we buy a pint, there's a whole story behind the price that we're paying.